So if you're wondering how much it costs to own a Maserati Ghibli, you might be surprised. A lot of people think it's a lot more money than it actually is. And I mean, that might be true if you buy new. But honestly, I wouldn't recommend buying one of these new. I would wait until the depreciation starts to kind of bottom out. And what I mean by that is, I mean, you pick up a used one for a price where you don't believe it to fall much further over the next, couple of years at least. Or at the very least, you get it for a good price, assuming you're going to daily it anyway, and you have no intention of getting rid of the car. So people that have commented about the car on the street, for example, they all think it's upwards of $80,000. They'll ask how much I paid for the car. They'll be like, how much does that cost? About 80? And I'll be like, no. I mean, they're not wrong. Brand new Ghiblis are like in the $70,000 to $80,000 range. So actually, yeah, very, very close to what they would be brand new. But I paid about $42,000, I think, for this car. And in what that equates to in car payments and insurance, for example, I pay about $594 or so per month for the car payment. So I mean, we could go ahead, that's close enough to 600. We could call it 600. My insurance is where I take a pretty big hit. I don't have the best insurance, so I mean, I definitely need to look into switching that. I pay maybe, and it bounces around a lot, I pay anywhere from $300 or so for the insurance to $250, $260, and then more recently it's been a bit lower. I've been paying around like maybe $200 a month, which ain't bad. I'll take that. Overall, the payments, the total monthly payments of just owning the car and insurance, it's, around $900. So about $900 a month just for that. And then we also have, obviously, if you're going to daily this car, the expense on gas. Now, filling up this car, since you should use premium, it is pretty expensive. And I'm not going to lie to you, these cars do not get good mileage. You will probably find some supercars that actually get better mileage than a Maserati. I mean, I probably get anywhere from 8 to 10 miles per gallon. So if you daily this car and you drive it a lot and use it as a commuter, you're going to fill it up quite often. And to fill this car up, right now where gas prices are, I think it's probably like $340, $350 for premium. If you want to talk about things like reliability, I've had this car now since January this year. So I've had it for about 7 months. And honestly, it's been amazing. I've had no issues at all with the car. Some things to note, particularly if you live around neighbors that might get bothered by the noise. It is incredibly loud. The cold start for the car is incredibly loud. The walls on my house are very, very good at blocking sound, and you can hear it through the entire house. So, yeah, that's just one thing to note. It is incredibly loud. But, I mean, hey, that's something I like about the car personally. Other people might not enjoy that, but that's something I like about it. Especially in this right here. This is a 2017 Maserati Ghibli. So you're going to have that twin-turbo V6 built by Ferrari with the Maserati sounds on the exhaust. So it's hard to get much better than that. The exhaust note is incredible. The car sounds So good. You would never imagine that this is a V6. It sounds way too good. I absolutely love it. But again, maybe that's not for you. And that's totally okay too, because you can actually put this in normal mode and it will be quiet. This car can be quiet and it can be incredibly loud. So it does both sides of that spectrum incredibly well. If this car is in normal, aside from the cold start, obviously, the cold start's going to be loud no matter what. And if you cold start and then you put it into sport, it is going to be insanely loud. But once the car has warmed up a little bit, in normal mode, it is super quiet. This car is really good at being quiet. And then when you're in sport and you're letting it rev up to about 3,000, 4,000, 5,000 RPMs, it gets loud, really, really loud. And especially in those early gears, like first, second, you're going to feel the torque on every upshift. It is insane. But hey, I love this car. This is my favorite car I've ever had so far. And yeah, again, too, and I've mentioned it in the other video, you'd be surprised of all the attention you get. If you have your windows rolled down in the summer and you're at like a stoplight, you would be surprised how many people go out of their way to talk to you or to try to start a conversation with you. If you have your windows down, it's like inviting everybody to start commenting on your car. And just in the past couple weeks, I've had, I want to say, at least 4 people do that to me at stoplights. You get the, oh, do you race that? How much horsepower does it have? Oh, how much do those cost? Oh, that sounds so good. Sweet car. you know, you get all those kinds of compliments from people. So again, if you don't want that attention, maybe it's not a good idea to have one of these. But, you could also just not roll down your windows too. That would work. But that just goes to show you there's so much like cachet for the Maserati brand. And it doesn't even matter if you bought one in like the $30,000 range or in the $40,000 range. People are going to look at these and think they're incredibly expensive cars. And new, they're right. They are incredibly expensive. And even though I love the brand and I love the car, I would never buy one of these new. If I was going to spend somewhere in the $100,000 range, I would probably get like a used AMG or something like that. But anyhow, that's just my thoughts real quick. And that's how much I pay for this car. But and I also love the look of the car personally. I love the Maserati logo. You have this trident. It just looks incredible. I think this is one of the coolest emblems for a brand, especially when you see the trident on the grill. It looks amazing. I think the front of a Maserati looks awesome. I think it is one of the coolest looking grills on any car, period. That might just be my opinion, but it looks amazing. So, I do think the car looks really nice as well. So there's a lot of reasons that make sense for me to own this car. But I would honestly recommend that if you're interested in buying one of these, test drive it, see if you like it. So the handling is awesome. Handles better than any car I've driven personally. But yeah, I would recommend if you're interested in getting one of these, go take a test drive. See how you like it. Put it in manual. Do not drive this car in automatic. I will tell you right now, the Ghiblis, they short shift in automatic all the time. They will shift every single time at about 1 to 1.5 thousand RPM. They will automatically shift. Before I left my driveway, I was in 3rd gear. And before I left the neighborhood and got to the stop sign, they had me in 5th gear going like 20 miles an hour. It was crazy. So yeah, I wouldn't recommend driving this car in automatic. Put it in manual, put it in sport, and have fun with it. It is seriously a really, really good time. The engine sounds amazing, especially when you let it rev high. So this is a completely different video. The last footage I had of this ended up getting corrupted, so I'm just continuing kind of where I left off. So Again, you'll be filling up this car a decent amount, and it's going to be premium. And again, the mileage isn't great. So here, take a look at this. This is the trip I just had, 21 minutes, average about 8.6 miles per gallon. I mean, I've had it as low as 7 point something. So, I mean, the mileage isn't great. If you drive this a lot, you're probably going to fill it up a lot. And, that can be, well, right now anyhow, at least $60 or so per fill up. Sometimes a little more, depends how much you need to fill up. If it's the whole tank, you're going to spend over $60 right now on premium. And again, it depends where you live. Over here, it's maybe like $3.50 a gallon or somewhere like that. So if you're paying more than that for premium, it's obviously going to be more expensive. So, I mean, I fill it up right now only maybe twice a month. So per month, I'm spending maybe $120 to fill up the car. But if you're using it as a daily, like as a commuter, you're probably going to fill it up maybe 4 times a month, maybe more, maybe 5 to 6 times a month. It really depends. Again, like I said, the mileage isn't great. And honestly, you can find supercars that have better mileage than this car, which is crazy to think, but it's actually true. At least that's the case with my Maserati. I'm not sure if it's just mine. Maybe it's because I drive it in sport all the time. I have no idea. But with the gas, the car payments, and the insurance, I might be spending, anywhere from $1,100 to $1,200 a month on this car. And for me, that's a very acceptable expense because at the end of the month, I still have plenty of cash left over. So if that's expensive to you and you can't afford this car comfortably, then you might want to consider other options. Of course, you can get the price lower. Again, if you don't drive it too much, you're not going to fill it up that much. Then the gas isn't going to be too bad. If you're buying this car and you have to really, really consider the gas and like, oh, I don't want to spend the money on premium, then you probably shouldn't make the decision to buy this car. But yeah, you can probably definitely save money on insurance. I definitely overpay for insurance. I could definitely save money there. I barely put anything down for this car, so that's why I pay about $600 a month for it. I traded in my Cadillac ATS. So yeah, there's a lot of things that go into consideration that you could do to lower the payment. But, at the end of the day, if you can't afford, like the $1,000 a month, then maybe you should consider other options. You certainly want to afford any car that you buy comfortably. So say you're spending $1,000 a month on this car, I would say you would still want to pocket at least $3,000 after the fact each month. That's allowing you to drive this car very comfortably, and it's allowing you to have money in case you do need to make an expensive repair, which, sometimes with Maserati is going to happen, and it could be, pretty expensive. Not that it will be, but it could be. So it's good to have that money in the bank. You certainly do not want to be driving this car on like your last penny and you can barely afford to drive it. So that's my recommendation anyhow. You should always try and pocket at least triple what you're paying for the car. And that way you can just afford the car very comfortably. Anyhow, that's my 2 cents. I love the car. I've had no issues with it in the time that I've owned it. If you want one of these cars, they're great cars in my opinion. You'll have a lot of fun with them. Just make sure that you can afford this car comfortably. And that's about all I have to say. Thanks for watching.